Well, good afternoon. Welcome to Gunster's View from the Top. My name is George LeMieux. The privilege of being the chairman of the board of the Gunster Law Firm, and I'm here today with our very special guest, Paul Leone, the CEO of the world famous Breakers, and a great friend to us here at Gunster and a great friend to all of us in Florida. Welcome, Paul.
Good to be with you, George. Thank you.
Well, this has been a very challenging time for the people of Florida. No industry has probably been impacted more than the hospitality industry. So let's widen the curtain a little bit beyond Palm Beach County and maybe even beyond Florida. Give us a perspective of what this shutdown has meant for hotels, motels, the hospitality industry as we now start to recover.
Wow. Well, you're right in saying I'm pretty sure this industry has been more adversely impacted than any other. And God knows there have been so many. I feel for all businesses and industries, but certainly the hotel business, which, to a great degree, the business is about large assemblies of people. Certainly there's the roadside motel aspect of our industry, but large assemblies of people, and lots of restaurants, spas, businesses that within the core hotel business have also been seriously impacted. And so, as I talk to my colleagues around the country, we're all pretty much in the same boat, unless you are, a sort of a roadside, again, travel sort of transient, or you have been hosting essential lodgers. Our businesses have gone to, essentially zero revenue operations. I've been at the Breakers for 35 years. And of course, over that period of time, we've all been through so many different challenges. I've never been in a situation where we have had a prolonged period with no revenue coming in. And so, again, this industry is struggling right now. We're blessed at the Breakers because of our private ownership and having a very little debt. We were able to, handle this with more stability, whereas there are so many. That's the other sad part. It's not only if zero revenue is not bad enough, it's being unable to pay your debts, and particularly in the, with respect to loans and financing. So I think it's going to be a different industry when we come out of this. I mean, I'm optimistic overall, just as an American and about our country, but I just don't see how this industry doesn't come out in a little different form and shape, largely because of the debt structures of a lot of the individual properties.
Interesting. Before I jump forward on how things will be different, since this version of the Breakers in 1925, has there ever been a time when the Breakers has closed before this pandemic?
There has only been two other times, two other instances that I know of, and the most significant was in World War II, where the hospital was taken over by the U.S. Army and used as a hospital for a period of time. I don't remember the exact period, but it was a prolonged period, much longer than the 9-week closure we've been through over the last 9 weeks. And then back in 2004, when we had the back-to-back Hurricanes Francis and Jean, we were closed for 1 month because of Francis. We reopened. The day we reopened, after an heroic effort to get back open in 1 month, it honestly could have taken 3. We had an army of people, all of our vendors, our team jumped in, and we got it open. And the day we got it open, we got the warning about Hurricane Gene. I see you shaking your head. You
That was
remember it.
that year. Those 2 years we had 8 or 10 hurricanes in '04 and '05 was really damaging.
Unbelievable. So, back to back, we were closed then for about 6.5, 7 weeks. And I thought that was about as bad as it could ever get. But this is much worse.
So let's talk about coming out of it. Has the breakers reopened?
The breakers reopened this past Friday for Memorial Day weekend. And we timed that. That was about the earliest we could open by government regs, and we could have bought a little more time, but we were ready. We've been preparing for weeks on end now, doing all the due diligence, assembling supplies, creating new protocols, and we thought it would be really nice for the public and our team to open on a holiday weekend like Memorial Day. Honestly, it wasn't about making the first buck back or another buck. It was I thought it would be sort of a feel good time to open rather than buying another week or two to maybe get a few more things in order. But we had a wonderful weekend. We were able to test dozens and dozens of new protocols. We operated at about 45% occupancy, which is pretty
Pretty
encouraging.
good. Impressive for your first weekend open.
Yeah, and especially since we were not able to take reservations up until about 2 weeks, I think, before that. So the booking window was very short. Usually, that booking window would be open for months, and so took that as a very good sign. And every day the phones are ringing constantly. So good signs this first weekend.
Tell us what it's going to be like as guest of the Breakers, whether we're coming to stay there overnight or whether we're just coming to one of the fantastic restaurants or amenities. What's going to be different now about our experience in order to ensure safety?
Yeah, I'll give you, just a few things. The most visible, and as I do that, we'll tell you, behind the scenes and things that I won't get into today in a short conversation because I've got mounds of papers and procedures. But let's just say you pull up to the Breakers and ready for your weekend getaway with your 4 children and your great wife. And first thing our staff will do out front, rather than immediately grab your car door handle and open it, which is, we would jump on that opportunity and want to make sure you didn't have to do that work. We'll actually stand back. You'll see our staff with masks on and with gloves out front, and they will allow you to make the first move, so to speak, because maybe you don't want us touching your door handle, right? That's the environment we're in, even though it can obviously be disinfected. But we'll do that, and then we'll ask if you would like to valet park or park your own car, which that was never an option as you were checking in. It was valet parking was almost exclusively the option, or there was a little bit of self parking. And then we'll ask if you want us to help with luggage, where again, typically we would grab everything right away to help you get into the hotel and start enjoying your visit. So that's the first difference, is giving you those options for valet parking or self-parking and handling your luggage on your own or not. And by the way, this past weekend, as the first test case, much to our surprise, over 70% of our guests stuck with the typical routine, which is allowing us to valet park the car and to take their luggage. I think they're both trusting us to disinfect things, which we will do. And also, when your luggage comes to your room, if you're uncomfortable, you'll disinfect it yourself, right? So that was interesting. And then as you come into the lobby up to our main check-in counter with 3 big long bays, the bays are probably at least 10 feet, maybe 12 feet long. You'll only see one guest services agent behind each bay, where typically there would be 2. So
Right.
we're physically distancing those people. They will have a mask on, and there's a very attractive large plexiglass screen that separates the guest from the agent, and yet it's easy to communicate through that screen. And then when you get to your room, and I can hold up, actually give you a quick example. As you get to your room, one of the things you will see a welcome note from me and our hotel general manager. And you'll see this little kit that has in it right now, there's more supplies coming, but a little, geez, why am I,
Hand sanitizer.
hand sanitizer, thank you. Hand sanitizer, some tissues, and some wipes to clean either your, computer, your phone, or any other material that you want to wipe down. And you'll have some a couple of magazines that will be your magazines. If you want them, you'll take them, and if you don't, they will be discarded after you leave, so no one else touches them. And we could sanitize those too, but we're taking the high road. And you'll have an individual in-room dining menu versus the one that typically you find you pull out of a drawer and 100 other people have touched it. And you will have an updated list of all the services offered, because some services are not offered yet, like the children's playground, we're not opening yet. The children's camps, we're not opening, or the arcade. We feel, that's a little more sensitive. We're not quite ready for that. And hours of operations in a few parts of the business, are changing. So, you'll have an updated individual copy of that. And lastly, just as, again, a few examples, your a little notepad, personalized notepad with a pen that is wrapped so no one else has touched it, and your TV remote control has been hermetically sealed. And so again, I could go on and on. In the restaurants, really not that much different. The big difference will be when you walk up to the hostess stand, again, she'll be protected. That person will be protected by a plexiglass barrier.
Mhm.
And all of our staff will be wearing masks, not gloves in the restaurant. We don't want it to feel like you're dining at a hospital, but know that everything is cleaned, obviously. And I, after I dine in a restaurant, I'm not going to dine with gloves on. I'll go wash my hands if I'm concerned about touching something. That's personal responsibility.
And what about the world famous Breakers brunch?
Okay, that's a great question. And speaking of lost revenue, I think it's going to be a little while before the brunch comes back. We're trying to reimagine that with an interim plan, but the Sunday brunch and even daily buffets at our Circle Dining Room, which is our main breakfast venue, and our Beach Club breakfast venue, we're not using buffets at the present time. But we've got some ideas on that. And again, we're going to, as we opened, our attitude was we want to open, obviously, but we are not trying to make a quick buck. We've been here 124 years. We're in it for the long haul. We're going to be slow but steady. And so buffets and children's playgrounds, things like that, we're going to hold some things out. And our guests really want those things, our members as well. But we're going to be we're going to resist some of the temptation for sure.
Well, let me conclude by asking you this, Paul. You mentioned this in your opening remarks. How is the industry going to change? What is your prediction? Let's assume the best case scenario that we come out of this, there's not a new resurgence, we eventually get to a vaccine. What does the landscape look like, and is there any silver linings? You would think a lot of people are going to want to stay in the United States for vacation at this point and not go to foreign countries. Will that be a silver lining for hotels like the Breakers?
I absolutely think, and I'll focus where you ended and then go a little further out around that. But for the Breakers, I think the silver lining, and I don't say this, with any joy about the, the negative impact on others, but given our brand, our reputation for integrity and quality and safety and security, once we get past this, it will be a net positive for us, including the international travel piece. Because we are sort of at the top of the food chain in our industry with one of the best reputations. So that will change. For the industry, I think that, this is an industry. I said to the Board of County Commissioners 2 Fridays ago when I was testifying about, the date of when they would allow hotels to take non-essential lodgers. And I said, the only business I can think of that deals more with sanitation, hygiene, and cleanliness than hotels are hospitals. Mm-hmm. And so, we've always been a business that's deeply, those things are deeply embedded, but we'll take those things to another level as an industry. And that will be good for the industry. That will be good from a number of standpoints, not the least of which, one of my key examples would be where we are pretty much, everyone I've talked to is screening employees every day for temperature, with temperature checks. Now, not everyone, in fact, the minority are screening guests. Some are screening everyone who comes into their buildings. That's a much bigger undertaking with lots of issues, I'm sure you can imagine. We're not doing that, but in terms of screening employees, when I think about this, if we can forgetting the pandemic, if we can catch an employee, and I don't mean catch as in gotcha, I mean to be helpful, coming into work and they've got a fever and they shouldn't be at work, for their sake, for their family's sake, for our other employees' sake, I think that's a good thing. We never thought of doing that. We never imagined doing that. And in terms of healthcare costs and productivity, I think that could be a major silver lining for people's health and health costs and productivity. So, I think the breakers, again, we're going to come out stronger. There's no doubt in my mind. I have no idea how long this is going to go on. One of the big questions for the industry, because again of the group assemblies, the group meetings and charity events and weddings, that's one of the biggest open questions right now. When, how, when will people be comfortable? How will you handle those things? And so we're working on that right now. That's our next phase. There are no groups, no events for the next month. We do have groups that are telling us they want to come in August. You would know some of the names. I won't mention them publicly now, but then they want to come. Whether they do, remains to be seen. I'm not anticipating that many groups in the next 60 to 90 days, but I hope by the fall, with good progress around the country and with some physical distancing requirements, protocols and group meetings, we'll spread you guys out a little more. How you do that at a wedding, that's a little, at a meeting, it's easier. A wedding, a charity event, that's a little more challenging, but if that's what we need to do, we'll find a way.
Well, Paul, thank you for spending some time with us. I can't think of a better person to have from our View from the Top video cast than the best hotel CEO in the world, running the best hotel in America. So we're really grateful that you could spend some time with us today and help our viewers understand how we're going to get back to normal.
Well, George, thank you. That's very kind of you. And I want to thank Gunster for all of their efforts, keeping us informed, getting together with chats like this. Really appreciate it. You guys have done a great job, and stay well, my friend.
Thank you so much, Paul. Take care.
Take care.